Dudes on Movies podcast with your hosts, Scott Charboneau and David Lynn Miller.
Welcome to Dudes on Movies. I'm your dude, Scott.
I'm your dude, Dave.
And today we're discussing 2002's 1 Hour Photo, directed by Mark Romanek and starring Robin Williams. But before we do that, let's talk about what we've been watching. Dave, what have you been watching?
I recently saw a movie from 1980 called Forbidden Zone because another podcast I enjoy called Doom Generation did an episode on it.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie is a surrealist, absurdist comedy based on the work of the Los Angeles theater troupe. They were called the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo.
Okay.
I
like it.
Yes. And it was first filmed in black and white, and then it was colorized in like 2008, thereabouts. And I saw the colorized version because it's the only one currently available. And the good news is that it made me smile and laugh, a couple times, and that was good.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's an experimental avant-garde film, it's probably not for everybody. But I think most people who like what we like will have a good time with it. And there was a couple other fun connections to mention, too. Joe Spinell makes a cameo late in the movie.
Yes.
I know you're always down for that. He plays this like sleazy Navy man who's shipping out in the morning and is looking for some action.
Of course he does.
And also, I recently watched Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, and that had Susan Tyrrell in it, and she's in this movie, too, playing another unhinged character, and she's just as out of her mind as she was in the other film. She's doing it again here. But most importantly, for our purposes, one of the co-writers on this project was credited as Toshiro Baloney. and
Okay.
I found out that that's an alias for Matthew Bright.
Okay.
He played two characters in this movie, Renee and Squeeze It. But Matthew Bright, more importantly, was the writer and director of Tiptoes.
Yeah.
The perverse part is that I liked him in this movie. He was very funny.
Okay.
At least as Squeeze It. And I can't believe it's the same person, and I guess, he hadn't taken leave of his senses yet.
Yeah, 20 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, people change, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
Or unless it was there the whole time.
He seemed like a funny, engaging actor, and I can't believe that's the same guy who came up with that abomination that we reviewed a couple months back.
Tiptoes. God.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Forbidden Zone,
Forbidden
right?
Zone, yeah.
Okay, I need to check it out then.
Yeah, you'd like it. It's on Tubi right now.
Okay, Tubi, but if it's the only way to get it, I'll do it.
I think Tubi is a great service.
Tubi is fantastic, but every now and then I'm like, I just can't handle these commercials.
I agree. I don't like
Yeah.
to see the same ad for QT every, however long. But I like that they let you know it's coming.
Me too. That's good. And
Yes.
they tell you how long it's going to last. So
Right.
you can get up and be like, all right, I got enough time to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
All this. So, all right, cool. Everybody, watch it on Tubi.
Right.
I caught a film that came out this year. It has some Oscar buzz, and it got a Golden Globe nomination for Angelina Jolie. It was called Maria. It's a biopic about Maria Callas, who's was a former opera singer. At least this part of her life they're documenting here.
Mm-hmm.
She's a former opera singer, and she's struggling with her mental illness and trying to deal with her now inability to sing like she used to. Although, to me, it still sounds incredible.
I know.
But to the trained opera auteur, it's not that great.
That's always the weird thing about opera singers. Like, oh, that person sucks. Like, I think they sound great.
Yeah, they're better than 99.9% of anyone
know.
I've ever heard sing.
Yes.
But it's like, you're a professional athlete. You're like
Yeah.
sitting on the bench, on the sidelines. You could still kick anyone's ass.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you're just like the worst pro player,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're the worst player in the NFL, but you're still amazing.
Yes, exactly. So that's kind of what that is. But the movie shows her like last few days, her last few weeks, or however long it is. And I like the cast in it a lot. Angelina Jolie's pretty good. Pierre Francesco Favino and Alba Rohrwacher, they play her kind of servants in her house. And they're both excellent too together. They're dynamic. But overall, I didn't care for the movie too much. It was just kind of a biopic to me.
Okay.
But they do some cool stuff with her illness where she's talking to people. There's a guy who's like biographying her life and she's speaking to him.
Okay.
But it's kind of all in her head and he like pops up throughout the movie, but it's portrayed as if it's a real person there, you know.
I see.
So it's an interesting mechanic for the story, but really it was just kind of just another biopic to me. But performances were good. I can see why people are talking about Angelina Jolie. So
Yeah, and she is like, this is a comeback for her because she'd kind of almost was semi-retired for a while.
yeah.
So it's good to see that she's back.
Yeah, it's great. There's a lot of comebacks, like Demi Moore's comeback with,
Yes.
with The Substance now. And I was just reading the other day, she's kind of like the front runner for the Oscar right now.
I hope she wins it. I really hope that, because I mean, like, that movie is fantastic,
Yeah.
and she's so good in it.
Yeah, so Maria, everybody, if it sounds good to you, check it out. All right, Dave, so now let's talk about 1 Hour Photo. Why don't you give everyone a synopsis?
Yes, this is the story of a photo lab technician at a big box store who's secretly obsessed with what he thinks is a perfect family whose pictures he's been developing over the years. And when he attempts to make a more serious connection with the wife and child through kind of deceptive means, he discovers that their lives aren't as idyllic as he always believed. And the situation eventually gets ugly and violent. And this is another movie that I think we'll enjoy talking about because it has a lot to say.
Yeah, it's quite... when it came out, the big thing was the cast. Robin
Right.
Williams is playing this crazy person.
Right.
And he usually didn't do that kind of role. I think this year Insomnia also came out.
Yeah, it was the same year.
So he's playing the kind of the villain of the movie in both of them. Even though in this I wouldn't argue him as the villain, he's the protagonist.
Right.
He's just a mentally disturbed man who does some wrong stuff.
Yes.
And that's why this movie stands out.
Absolutely. I think Robin Williams was an exceptional dramatic actor, and all of his most famous roles, like, this is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
That's why I selected the movie, was that he's been great in many other movies, and even if I think some of those other films are, like, superior to this one, for me, this performance stands out because he makes you sympathize with a person who most people just, like, judge and avoid in real life.
Yeah.
We've all known this person, or we've been this person, and him taking a role like this shows like such sensitivity, and because we all know how his life ended, it's even more poignant to know that he understood alienation so well.
Exactly, yeah. I read that he originally was going to have the part that Gary Cole had of Bill, the like Save Mart manager,
Uh-huh.
but after he read the script again, he's like, I got to play Psy. Like, I need to do Psy. And of
right.
course, if it's Robin Williams in 2001 or whatever when he's reading the script, you give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that he was up for that role, for the Gary Cole part. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I mean, it's a role, but I mean, it just like if you're gonna make this movie and you're wanting Robin Williams, and it's like, of course he's gonna play Psy.
Yeah, give him a bigger part.
Right.
Right? Just not like the manager who's like going to fire you, that
I mean,
kind of role.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it's a
doesn't
smaller
seem,
part.
It is, right.
And I heard that's why Gary Cole took the role, because Robin Williams was Psy, and he'd get to work with him.
Yeah,
so he was
of
like,
course.
heck yeah, sign me up. Of course, playing Bill again as an office manager, it's quite funny.
Dude, I mean,
But-
Gary Cole just could not escape these characters.
He couldn't
I mean,
do it.
You know, at least he's a human being in this one.
Yeah.
He seems to have actual thoughts and emotions. He's not Bill Lumbergh.
Right, Lumbergh's a cartoon, right?
Right.
Like, this is an actual, real three-dimensional person.
He is,
Who
yes.
I feel like it's probably a good manager from the way he talks to Psy.
I know.
and the way he handles it. Like, he tries to help him. He's like, all right, one more time, let's go over this.
Right.
You need to know your place. All right, this kind of thing. All right, now get back to work. All right.
Yeah.
And then later, hey, these numbers don't add up. I gotta let you go, man.
I know.
This ain't coming down on us.
He
He does what he's got to do.
Everything's documented there. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? If
yes.
every place had everything documented.
I
Or you didn't even need the documents. This guy's a psycho. Let's
mean,
let him go.
well, yeah, you still need proof of it though.
Right.
So, you know, I guess that if they don't have proof that he's a psychotic, they at least have like the numbers showing that the
Right.
you know,
and
the count
here
was
he's
off.
got the numbers, and he's got, well, he yells at that technician in front of the
He
whole
does,
store. So yeah,
yeah.
that's a big one there. So,
Right.
Yeah.
He makes a scene with Nick Searcy.
He has all the ammunition he needs. And then some.
Yes.
He can reload on this guy if he needs to.
Right.
But anyway, we're kind of going off the rail here at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, the movie, it really shines a light on how loneliness affects people.
Yes.
This man has no friends, he has no family, and he projects himself into this other family's lives, like in his own mind.
Right.
Not physically, until like this movie, right? But we see at one point he's been collecting their photos, like copies of their photos, for a decade at least.
it's when the movie opens and like Connie Nielsen and the kid Jake are Connie Nielsen plays Nina Yorkin, who seems to like the kind of like suburban woman who has it all. She's gorgeous, and her and her husband Michael Vartan,
successful business owner.
Exactly, they're very wealthy. They have this like
kids playing soccer.
Yes,
yeah.
Their house is like ultra modern. It looks like the kind of like thing that Zuckerberg probably built in Big Sur.
It looks like a rich asshole owns this house.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it's not very inviting. It's really expensive and nice, but it's not a place you'd want to live.
Yes.
But like they're there to. She's dropping off film, which she's done for the last 10 years, and she has like she's on a first name basis with Cy.
Yeah.
Robin Williams' character. And like it means everything to him. He's a part of her life in that like, okay, I'm going to the photo place, I'm going to drop off the film.
Yeah.
If Yoshi was waiting on her, she'd be fine with that too.
God. And then like when they're dropping off this film at the beginning, Yoshi is helping her. Yoshi's the other film technician here who's kind of, I guess, Cy's understudy, it seems.
I know. Right?
Cy sees her through the back window, and it's like, oh, shit. And he gets up and walks out front like, oh, I'll help Miss Yorkin.
Uh-huh.
And Yoshi, it's fine. Go ahead. And he, like, has her address memorized, and he knows everyone's name in the family. And he's just a little too far over the line with the friendliness, right? But I don't think he realizes it. I think he thinks he's forcing himself into their lives just like one sentence at a time almost.
Yes.
And it feels like Nina is a little standoffish about it. Like, oh, hi, Cy, how you doing?
Right.
Here's that weirdo, developing my photos.
Yeah.
But she makes the nice small talk with him and everything. And he's like really nice to Jake, the kid, and everything. So she deals with it.
Yes, and he even gives Jake a free disposable camera because it's
it's his birthday.
Yeah, it's his birthday. Like you know what birthday boys get.
Free camera, and then he tussles his hair. Stop touching my kid, God damn it!
I know, dude. I know you can't touch people's kids. You can't touch people, dude.
Exactly.
I mean,
just stand back and take a photo of them. A creepy photo.
A creepy photo, right?
What would be worse, a creepy photo or a creepy touch? Definitely the touch, right?
I'm not wild about either practice.
Yeah, neither are good.
Right.
None. Some people might be into creepy touches, but if you are, go for it.
Yes.
But I guess we also should say the movie opened like before this because it's kind of bookend with like a police interrogation scene.
Yes.
Yeah. Robin Williams is in this interrogation room at the very beginning, and Eric LaSalle comes in. He plays Detective Vanderzee.
Yes, Detective Vanderzee.
Yeah,
all the characters are named after, I guess, famous photographers.
Yes. So I'm just going to call him Eric LaSalle.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because it's easy.
Right.
But he's asking him like, all right, what happened at the hotel? What kind of photos are you taking? This kind of stuff.
He asks him point blank, what was it about Will Yorkin that upset you so much?
What provoked
what provoked all this?
And then we kind of flash back.
Yes.
And then this is where we are. And it flashes back to like a montage of the Yorkin family. It's Nina and Jacob and Will Yorkin. Will's played by Michael Vartan. And they're like taking photos at Jake's birthday. And he has a voiceover. There's a lot of voiceover from Robin Williams in this. And it's all about like how photos, capture a moment in time. It's the only way we've figured out how to stop time. And people only take happy photos, right? But no one ever takes photos of the bad times. And
right. They photograph things they want to remember.
Yeah. And so like we all would look back and think about, oh, wow, we had these really happy, leisurely lives and nothing was wrong. Mm-hmm. It's a real Instagram type thing, before Instagram. Uh-huh. So, I mean, he has several voiceovers like this throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And they're all very kind of introspective like that and a little philosophical, but also kind of creepy.
Yes, as creepy as they are and as, I guess, self-important as he kind of comes off in his narration, too.
Yeah.
I still enjoy all of it because it's just Robin Williams giving a good performance. But it's like, it's funny and endearing how seriously Cy takes his job and how important he thinks it is and he is.
Yeah.
Like his narration, it does a convincing job of it too in some ways. Cause like when he illustrates everything that goes into processing the film.
Yeah.
And then the movie shows the montage of like showing the color mixing and the machine and how it works. And I process these photos as if they were my own.
Yeah.
And he goes on about like how the crappy garbage that they pass off at the Photech and Rexall, washed out prints and and they people think that like you can just do this job. You take a 2-day seminar and it's like, no, you have to really take care. I'm like,
yeah,
it's great that he wants to please his customers this much, but and he's technically right about like what photography is and what portraiture is. It's capturing a moment, and you are trying to relive a happy time that you had. It's just that like because he's being quite so serious about it and maybe overly philosophical, and it's not as profound as these observations aren't as profound as he thinks they are.
Yeah. And I think because of that, it really shows us the level of obsessiveness this guy has.
Yes.
If he's this way about photography, and it kind of explains why he's this way about trying to solve his loneliness by like grasping onto this one family.
Right.
He wants to get into their life. It reminds me of American Psycho a little bit, like just how like precise everything is.
Yeah.
It makes sense because this guy's a psycho too.
It is. I mean, like people who are like this, they have to have everything just so. Everything has to be their way.
Right.
And when we go into his house, I guess it isn't wealthy like Patrick Bateman's place, but it is everything in order.
Oh yeah. It's pretty empty. It's very minimal.
Yes.
This guy lives a very lower class life. He doesn't have a lot of material things. He has a pet hamster, though.
Yes.
I noticed that.
Right.
Because he feeds him water. And, like, we get a montage of him, like, doing things around his apartment that even he's very sad looking. He, like, microwaves the food and then, like, feeds his hamster. And while this is happening, it's cutting back to Jacob lying in bed in his McMansion. And Connie Nielsen is there like, what's wrong, honey? And he's like, I feel bad for somebody who has no friends. Sigh, the camera guy. And then, of course, Nina's just like, oh, that's so sweet that you're thinking about other people. And while he's saying all this stuff about how he feels bad for him, we see Robin Williams in his place doing all these things. And then eventually he's sitting there watching TV and there's a wall covered from top to bottom in photos of their family. Like 4x6 photos meticulously lined up in rows covering the entire wall. And there's like job site spotlights plugged in on them, like to light them up.
That touch right there. Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
And there's a ladder there so that he can, get up there and look at the ones on top so he can get to them. And he's even got a magnifying glass so he can look through later on. He can like really peer in.
Dude.
Yeah. This guy is out of his head.
Yeah. So this is when it's really revealed to us, okay, there's something really wrong with this guy.
And it's a really chilling reveal, too, because we saw when Nina came in to get she said, oh, I want 2 prints of everything. And he wrote a 3 on the order form.
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to steal the pictures.
Right. Because it's already strange. He's like rushing out there to push Yoshi out to the side. Get out of here, Yoshi. I'm helping her.
Right.
Why would you do that?
I know.
Exactly.
I know. It's a weird move. But okay, we're like thinking, yeah, he's going to do this, and that's a little strange. But I guess it's probably a one-time thing. I don't know. It's still not good.
Still
totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
But when we find out he's been doing it for 10 years, and he's got this this whole mural in his house, a shrine dedicated to this family, and then he's even got like framed 8x10s on his nightstand of Will and Nina.
Yeah.
And then there's like a Christmas card that's I guess they gave him
like a baby photo of Jake.
Oh, my gosh,
and
yes.
Like he's even like at Applebee's or somewhere, and
he's just some diner.
And then the waitress is just like, "Oh, who is that? Your family?" He's like, "Yeah, this is my nephew Jake."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this guy is
he's telling
immediately.
People. I know.
And, like, the camera shows all the photos on the wall. This goes back from... this kid's, like, 10 or 11 or something, and it goes back to when she was pregnant with him.
Dude, a lot of movies, like, stage photographs for plot purposes, but this one goes further than most, of course, because it's a big part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to have been there when they shot all these pictures. Like with Michael Vartan and Connie Nielsen putting on wigs of varying length. Because, like, there's a ton of them. There's a lot of pictures.
Yep.
And they're not all the same. I mean, like, it's all different stuff. And, like, even just in the ones we see where, like, Sai is like, thumbing through them, it's it's like a lot of different stuff was going on, and they had to stage all of these, the pregnancy ones, and then the fifth birthday party.
Like
and
they're at a college party, that kind of shit. You know, like they had to do that. I mean, I guess they could Photoshop at this point. You probably could,
but I checked for that.
You might need ILM to do it for you.
You probably would. You'd have to call up George Lucas, and I looked at the photos and they didn't look photoshopped. It looked like
they look real.
Yeah, they looked real.
Yeah, it was probably easier back then to just let's just stage up a couple things and spend an afternoon doing this,
which I like. I like that they took the time to do that, because it's like, okay, it probably was an afternoon. Like, okay, I have 6 sets of clothes for you, and we're going to shoot you this way. And it probably worked out well.
Yeah,
that way.
And they even Robin Williams says something about digital photography at one point too. Right. It's like, oh no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
I'll
be out of the job.
No way. I'll be out of the job. Yeah. I wonder if that was an improv from Robin Williams.
Yeah, right.
I read that they did like normal takes, but he also did like a comedy version of a take. So there's a comedy cut out here somewhere, maybe.
So I know, and I didn't get the footage of it, but Mark Romanek said that like when in the end during the chase, when like Eric LaSalle and Clark Gregg are chasing through the hotel, he walks into that convention center, and there's that optometrist thing going on. I guess in the first take, he throws the door open, and he's standing there, he looks all like worried.
Yeah.
But on the first take, he was in his underwear.
Oh my God! Yep, right. Practical joke, man.
Exactly. Yes. Right.
You're in a creepy 1-hour photo movie, and you're still doing jokes. That's who he was.
I mean, he just. I've seen him. There was an interview on Charlie Rose that him and Mark Romanek did after the movie came out, and it's so strange to watch Robin sit there, and he'll be doing like all that character work that he does on Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, he just goes on. It'll go for 90 seconds. The thing he's most famous for, and then he kind of senses that people are like, okay, that's enough, and then he goes into, well, yes, it was quite a role, and I really, I mean, he can turn so quickly, and it's kind of it's not scary, but it is bizarre,
Yeah, he's got a switch, man.
Yes,
that takes a lot of talent, really. Like whether you love him being at 100% speed or not, he's talented no matter what.
I know,
and he can go from one aspect to another really quickly. That's why he's Robin Williams.
Of course, he was a master stand-up comedian and dramatic actor before that was even thought of as something you could do.
Yeah, and one of the best improvisers of all time.
Yes, kind of unmatched, really.
There's probably like 10 takes of every scene he's ever done, and everyone's completely different.
Yes.
Unbelievable, dude. So after Jake gets tucked in, we get a quick scene of Nina and Will fighting about money. She's like, you're never home. You're always working. And he's like, well, I have to buy all this stuff you want in this stupid house.
You want our lives to look like it's something out of a catalog. I have to work, Nina.
Dude, you're a neglectful father and a neglectful husband. And they're all just pointing the blame on each other, even though he's the dickbag. No, but really, like, they're just fighting. And maybe we don't know whose side is winning or not. We just know that Jake is standing there crying in the hallway.
Right. He hears the whole argument. And this is right after it looked like things were going pretty well. I mean, we actually have the picture of the family that Cy did that, it is just, domestic bliss. But it turns out, no.
No, it's not.
Right.
Because it never is.
It never is.
Never is. So the next day, I guess it's a Monday, Robin Williams has a voiceover saying Monday's our busiest day. He goes on to describe all these usual customers that come in, like the cat lady, the insurance claims adjuster, the amateur pornographers. He's like, as long as everyone's cool with it, we can develop the film.
Which I knew that going into watching the movie because I remember, like, when I was about 20 years old, a friend of mine had this roll of like his pictures that he'd gotten back from Walgreens, and it was naked pictures.
Yeah.
And I was like, they developed those? He said, yeah. I guess they just do it as long as it's not anything unlawful. They just do it.
Yeah.
The problem is, though, how do they know? How do they know the person in that picture isn't 16?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
How do they know they're not being forced to do this?
Exactly.
You can't.
Right.
I'm sure they've changed their policies.
I
guarantee you, if there is a photo development place out there,
right.
I know you can print digital stuff now at places
can, yeah.
and pick it up.
Right.
So They probably have policies against that stuff.
Yeah, that's weird. I feel like 1 hour photo places have been around for most of my life, but there was a time when you had to drop off your film and you didn't get it back for 2 weeks.
Try telling someone, go to Fox Photo. They'll have no clue what you're talking about.
No way, dude.
So we're here. We're seeing the madness of Monday because everyone took photos on the weekend.
Yes.
And I guess there's something wrong with the machine. We see Cy yelling at this guy named, I think his name's Larry.
His name's Larry. He's played by Nick Searcy.
He's the, I guess, photo machine technician. He's
Agfa.
yelling. What?
Agfa.
Agfa?
Yeah, that's the name of the company that makes the machines.
Okay.
The back of his shirt had AGFA.
All right, man. Well, he's yelling at him because he called him out here on a job because, like, the cyan color was off, like, 3 millilevels or something ridiculous like that.
+3 blue shift.
And he's like, call me out here when you have a real problem. I've got to be I got to be over here.
Yes.
You're ruining my day. And so Cy is yelling at him in front of the whole store.
Right.
They're calling each other names. And it's very rude, very mean stuff they're saying to each other.
Yes.
In front of the entire store. It's like a supermarket. It's called Save Mart.
Yeah, I liken it to a Walmart kind of place. You know, one of these big box stores. And Gary Cole, the manager, sees this whole thing happen, and it's just like Cy. I mean, at one point, that's a great attitude, Larry. Thanks for your precision work.
Yeah. So Larry sees this, or Bill sees this from like the other. He's like in the frozen foods or something. He's looking over with his checklist, like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Looking right at Cy, and you can tell on his face, like, not again.
Yeah,
something like that.
It's not again, I think, is what he's thinking, because like eventually what happens with Cy happens. I mean, like, it's not just this one offense. I mean, he's probably had problems with Cy, behavioral issues with him for forever.
Yeah,
and like when you're trying to manage people and you have to deal with this kind of crap, I mean, it always sucks.
Yes,
because there's no good way to approach it, and there's like a corporate way to approach it that they want you to do, but that's not effective either. The only way that is effective, you're not actually allowed to do, which is to talk to them human being to human being.
Yeah.
So Gary Cole is up against it, and he has to figure out a way to deal with this situation.
Yeah, he goes into the break room while Cy is there, just alone. Cy is staring at that Christmas card of the Yorkin family, and he's imagining himself in the photo with them, or like and like opening presents with them and stuff. It's this real fantasy he's having.
And it's a pretty good piece of filmmaking, the way the card comes to life, and you get into the card becomes actual footage.
It's like the paintings in Harry Potter.
Yes.
You know, they're actually alive, kind of. Yeah.
And then it pans over, and Cy is sitting there, like on the other couch, holding up his Christmas Gansey. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
And he gets interrupted by Bill. He's like, Cy, what are you doing? And he talks to him like, hey, one more time, you got to know your place. We've talked about this, right? Like, and so he's like, all right, fine, sorry, Bill, but he was wrong. You know, he needs to fix this. This is the best photo development place in the city.
Yeah,
because of me. And he's not wrong. I'm sure they're the best photos you can get in town.
I mean, yeah, for a 1 hour photo place, this is probably the place to be. That's why he's got all these customers.
Yep. And Bill's like, don't you have some time off? You know, maybe you should take a break, you know? Hinting to him, like, maybe get out of here for a bit, dude.
And this is one area where I will tell Bill, you should take a different approach.
Yes.
Don't suggest it. Say, listen, Cy, I noticed that you have 2 weeks of vacation left. This is part of your total compensation summary, and it must be taken by the end of the year. So please, by the end of the week, send me the days that you would like.
Yeah, definitely. And then as he's leaving, I think he says something like, how long you been in here? Your break was over like 90 minutes ago or some shit like that, you know?
I like how he goes in and out of corporate speak.
Yeah.
Because it's never, even when he does the corporate thing, it's never as bad as like the corporate thing.
Yeah.
But when he shifts out of it, he goes, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah.
It's a real good approach.
And that's how we should be able to manage people.
Of course.
Like a real human being.
Yes.
Not some robot. At least he's not doing the Lumberg thing to him. That would suck.
Oh, yeah. It's not passive-aggressive.
I'm going to need you to take your vacation.
Oh. Ooh. Man, I just got the all-over shivers when you know.
So, like, as Cy's leaving the break room, he's out there, and he's walking down an aisle, and he notices Will Yorkin is looking at some MacBook Pro cord or some shit. And he sees him and turns around and he's like, "It's you." He starts talking to him like he knows him.
Oh my God, Cy.
And he's like, yeah, it's me. Like, you're Will Yorkin. I'm Cy, the photo guy. And of course, because he's such an intrusive bastard, Nina has told this guy about Cy probably 50 times.
And he also, the last picture in the last roll that they got was Cy taking a self-portrait.
That's right. He didn't want to waste the last frame of film,
Yes.
so he did a selfie.
And at the end of the pictures that they're looking at, Will sees, like, oh, okay, so we have a picture of Cy, the photo guy now.
Yeah.
Great. So he recognizes him from the picture. And, I mean, in this moment, he's got to be thinking, oh, my God. Okay, it's not super intrusive yet. It's just some guy recognizing me from pictures. Okay, fine. I'll have this little handshake and interaction.
Yeah. It's not... Yeah, it's definitely not there yet, but he is saying some things that are kind of like, you shouldn't say that.
Because, it escalates to, because he needs some help, but this isn't Cy's section.
Yeah.
So, like, Cy gets on, like, the phone thing and goes, customer assistance, please, right now to aisle 4.
Yeah.
And that should be the end of it.
Right.
But then he says, Mr. Yorkin, you're a very lucky man. And may I say, you have a wonderful house. And,
Your wife's a babe.
exactly,
Yeah,
I know.
basically
Totally,
that.
yes. I fantasize about your wife.
Oh. He does, but really, that's not what the movie shows, right? He's fantasizing about being part of the family, right?
Yes.
So later, when he realizes the family isn't what it is, it kind of really hurts him,
Right.
like personally.
And his indignation is fine. I mean, it's okay that he's like mad about the situation he finds
Yeah.
out about. It's wrong the way he
definitely
inserts himself into it.
Definitely.
But like, if I find out that someone who I thought was of high character is not,
Yeah.
I react this way too. Like, oh, dude, I thought you were the man. Now you suck.
Yeah. You probably won't go to the lengths that Cy does,
No,
but
of
you'll
course.
just sit there and be like, "Oh, what a piece of shit!"
Exactly. I will just like, I'll give them hostility.
Yeah.
I'll silently judge them.
I can't believe I felt that way about that person.
Yes.
And I was totally wrong.
How could I have been taken by them? Yeah.
Yeah. And then you feel bad about yourself. I
Right.
thought I was a better judge of character
Yes.
than that.
Right.
But some people are just good at hiding shit.
Yep.
And at this point, Jake runs up and he's got like some big anime action figure, like Neon
Yeah.
Genesis
It's like an
Evangelion.
Evangelion thing, yeah.
Dude. And I heard that this is Robin Williams' toy he brought to the set.
No way.
Yeah, because he's a huge fan of the show.
Dude.
Like it's his favorite anime or something, and he collects the toys.
I mean, that's
and so,
awesome.
So he brought this to set, and he like made the script for that anime. Like
So
we
that
got to
was-
change it. Yeah,
Robin Williams collectible.
yeah. I mean, he named his daughter Zelda because
Oh
he
my-
loves Zelda.
Real- oh.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. Like, I found out John Carpenter is a massive gamer.
yeah. He's pretty big.
Right.
Elon Musk is apparently too.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That cheapens the whole thing.
I think he got called out for lying about how good he is at Fortnite or some bullshit.
Man, that needs to happen way more often.
I know, right?
He needs to be exposed
It's
in a
pretty
lot
cool.
of ways.
Gamers were like, "No,
Yeah,
shut up.
You're not one of
Don't
us.
don't even come near me."
Go fuck yourself, Elon.
But yeah, Jacob wants this toy, but his dad won't buy it. So Cy says, "I'll put it back for you." And this sets up something later.
Uh-huh.
So after this day of getting yelled at by Bill and meeting your idol, Will Yorkin, he ends up like at a diner and he's reading like Deepak Chopra and
Yeah, he'd spied this Deepak Chopra book in Nina's shopping bag.
Yeah.
And, he's reading the same book, I guess, in the hopes that he can, like, talk about it with her next time she comes in.
Exactly. And then he's like at a flea market doing more voiceovers about like photos and stuff. And
Yes.
there's like drawers of old photos that this guy's just selling at the flea market, And he just buys this one of this like woman from, it looks like maybe the 1940s or
Yes.
something. It's a black and white photo. It's very old. And he buys it.
Yes, and this part of the narration, too, is when... this is when he gets, like, super sensitive about photography.
Yeah.
And he says, a photograph means that someone cared enough about me to take my picture.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because his voice is very soft like
Yes,
that.
right.
Yeah.
And because we've seen him, like, kind of veer into creepitude, this monologue plays differently than it would have Yeah, at the beginning of the movie.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Now we know where this guy's brain goes, and it's like, okay,
Right.
he's getting a little nuts out there.
Uh-huh.
And so after this, we cut to him sitting in his car outside of the Yorkins' house, just staring at this place. And he sneaks in the back door. And he notices there's photographs on the fridge. And his photo is there, up next to the rest of them.
Right.
So he goes around the house, like, admiring this, amazing place. This is my family, and this is their place.
He goes to Jake's room, and there's toys all over the place.
Oh, Jake, what a mess.
Yes, and he's really kind of delighted by this. Oh, Jake, you got to tidy up your room, pal. I bet your mom's told you 1,000 times.
Oh, I could just picture Robin Williams with his bleached blonde crew cut. I'm like, oh. He looks like a creep in this movie.
He does, because his hands are pulled up a little too high. It's those khakis, and he dresses like a tourist would.
Yeah.
It's this really the most basic clothing you've ever seen, and kind of out of fashion eyeglasses.
Yeah.
And he drives like a Toyota Echo, and he's just about like as beige and plain as you can get.
Yeah, and he like doesn't move really. Like,
I know.
He's very still.
I mean, like,
His
so
arms
many
are kind of
times
just straight down.
Yeah, so many times when they put the camera on him, he's standing stiff as a board. Yeah, it's a little unsettling.
The only time he gets animated really is when he's yelling at Larry for not correcting the cyan levels.
That's right, and even then he's moving kind of in a
Yeah,
almost like a,
he's still kind of
right,
stiff, but
yes.
but yeah, he goes to the bathroom. It cuts to him sitting on the toilet with his
taking a
pants down.
shit in their house.
Yeah, dude. That takes some balls.
I mean, wow. It's like one of those moments where if I had seen it in the theater, I'm sure there would have been a gasp. From
I'm
the
sure.
audience.
I did read that this was a big moment.
Okay,
like
yes.
when people were like, "Oh my god,
Right.
That's unacceptable." The whole thing's unacceptable,
Yes.
people. But yeah, taking a dump in their house. Maybe he's just sitting down to pee. It's comfortable.
I get that. I know people, some men do that, but I think in this moment he is like, this is a massive trespass. Like, he wants to do this.
I know. What if he leaves a mark?
I mean,
He's got to clean it.
yeah, that's true. That's right. Yeah, you got to flush the remainder.
Yes, and then he goes to the master bedroom. You're like, oh shit! Now he's gonna masturbate all over the place or something. No, he just like fantasizes about being part of the family.
But there are like under things strewn about. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a couple, like there's a pair of panties there or whatever, and he definitely looks at them.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't pick them up and do anything, but thank God.
But yeah, it cuts to him like sitting on the couch with
Yes.
a beer, and he's like watching the game,
And he's put
the
on like
Gophers are
somebody's.
on.
I think it's Notre Dame, Michigan State.
Whoever it is,
Yes. But he puts on somebody's sweatshirt too.
yeah.
And he's got a beer, and he's got his feet up on the coffee table, and that's the other part of his shoes too. They're like those. It's like tan Velcro shoes.
Oh yeah.
They look like orthopedic prescription shoes.
Yep.
And he looks over at the expensive Weimaraner who's on the love seat, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, boy? This is a good game." And then we hear some keys in the door, and you're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah. They're coming in.
They're coming in. It's the whole family. They come in. They see him sitting there. He looks startled. He gets up for a minute, and he's like, "Oh God!" And then Will says, "Hey, Cy."
Yeah.
And
Like,
Nina's
it's
like,
normal.
"Oh, weren't you going to go out today?" And Jake runs over. "Hey, Uncle Cy, can you help me with my so-and-so?" Yeah, he was fantasizing about this whole thing.
Yeah, because then it cuts to him in the car outside of their house still.
Yes.
And he just drives off. But it's presented as if it really happened. Then we find out, no. It's just all in the mind.
Which, if I was dreaming about this and I was Cy, I would not dream of taking a dump in the bathroom.
But that just goes to show, like, how normal he wants his life to be with them.
True, yes.
You know, that's just part of it. You got to use the bathroom.
I mean,
you know?
yeah.
I do love how he's just sitting on the couch with that beer.
I know,
I'm like, because that is nothing even close to who this guy is. I don't
know.
think he would sit there and watch the game with a beer.
That is out of character, yeah. And I guess maybe that's part of his fantasies. He wishes he could be more like that person.
That's what the guys do. I
Yes.
wish I could be one of the guys.
Right,
you know?
right. Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that's just part of it. Me
Wow.
and Will hanging out, watching the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Boy, I hadn't realized that until just now.
So, But it's not. It's in his mind. He drives off. And then we cut to soccer practice. And Jacob's there, like, trying to get a goal and stuff. And we hear some cheering from the stands. And it's Cy. He's at the kids' soccer practice.
And he's the only adult at the practice.
The only one.
Sitting in the bleachers.
And he's making a scene. All right, good try. Good try, Jake. All right, good job.
What are you doing, man? And Jake, at one point, he like turns around and kind of looks. He sees Cy and he just waves, kind of like, hi, Cy.
Dave's squinting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, Cy? Oh, hi.
Yeah, hi.
And like, after practice, I guess he walks to the bleachers and he starts talking to Cy. And Coach is like, Jake, everything all right over there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. No, Coach, you need to go over there immediately.
Yes.
You need to call the police right now.
I know. Short of, yes, you're right. And either that or like, I need to see some ID, pal.
Yeah.
Are you a faculty member at this school?
Yeah.
Or are you an employee of this school? Then what are you doing
Are you
here?
family?
Right.
You can't just say, you all right over there, buddy? All right, see ya.
Oh, come on.
Come on, Coach.
Yes.
But yeah, Cy is there, and Jake is kind of just like, okay.
Yeah.
They start talking, and they end up walking home together. Doesn't he offer to drive him?
He offers to drive him, but Jake's got his bike. Like Jake's
Yeah.
bike was locked up, like on the at the bleachers,
Yeah.
and he says, "Oh, he actually refuses the ride." He says, "Oh, it's okay, I got my bike." And then like they're walking the bike back towards where Cy parked, and I guess that's probably where they're going to part ways. But like before they get there, or before they can, he can go home, Cy wants to present him with a present.
Yeah. And the way the shot is set up is the camera's like in the car kind of, and he opens the door and you see the toy, like the Evangelion toy sitting there, and he grabs it. And it looks like it's supposed to be bait to get him in the car. At least that's how it looks to me, the way it's framed and everything.
Right.
It's not. He's just giving him the toy.
Yes.
And his intentions here are just to wiggle his way a little more into their heart,
Right.
like, hey, I did this great thing for this kid.
Yes.
My nephew,
Right.
Jacob.
I know. And the thing is, like, yeah, my nephew, Jake, like, that is how he thinks of it. Cy is definitely not a predator, a pedophile.
No.
It's just that this kind of behavior looks like grooming because this is what pedophiles will do.
Oh, you just made me sick
Yes.
when you said grooming.
Yes,
I'm like,
dude.
oh,
I know.
It could be construed that way,
Of
but
course.
it's not.
Right.
I never felt for a second that that's what he was doing.
No.
Just the shot did make me feel like, all right, if this was a different movie, this is Candy trying to get someone in your van.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And he even, like, when they're walking toward the car, he starts to talk to Jake about, like, the home life. And he says,
Yeah.
oh, how about, with your dad? How come he wasn't here? Oh, well, he's busy. He works a lot. Well, he sounds like an important guy.
Yeah.
Is he ever here? And
Right.
it's
And Cy, like, ties his shoe for him.
Yes.
Like, come on, man.
It's
You're
getting a little too close.
A little too personal, yeah.
Right.
And he's calling him Mr. Parrish the whole time, right?
Yes.
Because his last name's Parrish. So he's like, no, Jake, it's Cy. Call me Cy.
Call me Cy.
Okay, Cy. Yeah. Now they're
Right.
on a first name basis.
Yes.
Even though I guess he called him Cy the rest of the movie, but
Well,
to his face, he
to
calls
his
him
face,
Mr.
he calls him
Parrish.
Mr. Parrish, and like he never addressed him when he was in the store with him. He only just said Cy, the photo guy, when they were at home, and he identified him from the picture.
Yeah.
And also when he talked to his mom about how he's sad for him.
Yeah.
And like Jake refuses the gift.
Yeah, he's like, I can't take this. Like, my parents wouldn't let me.
Right.
Thanks anyway, Mr. Parrish.
Yes.
Yeah. So he doesn't take it. Probably a really smart idea.
It was like for a 10-year-old to like not immediately go, oh my God, the thing I want.
Yeah.
He I don't know if he senses that this is weird or if he just like decides that I asked for this toy from my parents and they didn't get it for me.
Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't.
It's weird because you can't tell where this kid lies.
Yes.
With that. Part of me wishes he did take it. That way, Connie Nielsen could be like, what's this creep doing?
I mean, yes.
And then prevent everything else that happens in the movie.
Right. They'll be like, well, we're not going to Save Mart ever again.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
Right.
We're going to, what's the other place? I don't
We're
know.
going to Target somewhere. You
Yeah.
know, there's got to be a location,
Yeah.
near them.
Yeah, there has to be. And, I mean, so now Cy ends up at the mall and he's trailing Connie Nielsen.
My God, he's right behind her on this escalator.
Literally 2 feet, like he's on the next step.
Yes.
And you see her like come up the escalator towards the camera, and she's got like that pixie like pigtail cut going on.
It's like a Dharma and Greg hair.
Yeah, dude. I was like, damn, that brings me back. The early aughts, man.
Because earlier she had that like I asked my sister one time if there was like an official name for this hairdo. She said there's not, but like among stylists, it's called the beauty school.
The beauty school?
Yes, it's that fringe hair that like every person had in like the year 2000.
Yeah.
It just like everybody had it. Every lady had this.
It makes me think of Rachel Lee Cook, like for
Yes,
some reason,
I know,
and that's
yes.
the most 2000 thing I could ever say.
Every lady, by the way. Come on. Every girl had this is what I meant to say.
Every lady. Yeah. Hey, girls can be ladies too.
They are, of course, yes.
Anyway, they're at the food court, and she's on the phone, like, talking to someone. It sounds very important. She's probably complaining about her husband and their issues to her sister or something.
Exactly. She's got a friend, and she's, like pouring out her heart. And, like, yeah, she thinks something's up with Will.
Right, and he's at the Dairy Queen getting his burger and fries, and he, like, walks over intentionally and pretends to bump into her. Like, hey, you know. And he sits down.
Oh, man, yeah. He sits down, like, kind of at the table next to hers.
And she's, like, okay with it, right? Like, she's not like, oh, shit, you know? But, yeah, it's right next to her, and then she gets off the phone because she's like, I can't talk.
Yes.
You know, this guy's here. She doesn't say that, but
that is what
hey,
it
I can't
is.
talk right now,
Right.
but that's why.
Yes.
So she hangs up, and then they do start talking. They have a friendly conversation.
Right.
Like, oh, I can't believe we bumped into each other.
Yes.
Cy can. He definitely can.
I can believe it.
And they just start small talking, and she's trying to get out of there. Like, she's talking to him, and, like, you know, she's doing just enough, right? And then she's like, well, I really got to keep shopping, so I'm going to get out of here.
And it was when she got up is when he had made the remark about, like, how he's, you know, because he asked after Jake and how's Jake doing?
Yeah.
And, you know, he says, I've been doing your pictures so long. I've really watched that kid grow up. I almost feel like Uncle Cy.
Yeah. That's the sentence you shouldn't say.
No.
And she's kind of like,
Yes. And when she gets up and politely excuses herself, you know, he goes, oh, well, yeah, see you later. And then he gets out his Deepak Chopra book and starts, you know, like, he's really into it, you know, and she goes, oh, my God, I'm reading that exact same book.
Yeah.
And so she sits back down, and he's figured out a way. And this is the deceptive means I mentioned earlier.
Now she's ready to talk, like, have real conversation.
Yes.
Not just the small talk. She's like, are you married, Cy? You have any kids? She wants to know more about them. And
Right.
He's like, no. He's like, I don't have any of them, but I do have a photo of my mother. And he pulls out his wallet, and he brings out that photo he bought at the flea market.
Yeah.
Just a day before. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy is lying. Just one more thing for the audience to be like, what's wrong with this dude, man?
Right.
This is not going to end well.
He's got problems, this guy.
Yeah. So she does ultimately end up going shopping, but like after they have this moment of connection.
Yes, and I think Cy, this is exactly how he wanted this connection to happen.
Exactly.
This went precisely the way he wanted, and like even if it was only 5 minutes, he really got in with Nina here.
Yeah, like now he's in her good graces. Any reservations she had before are kind of just gone now. Mm-hmm. She's like, wow, this guy's actually a real person, a real nice human being.
Yeah.
He's good at his job. He likes his job, and it's not... He's good to our family because of that, but he's also just a great person.
Right.
You know? But little does she know what lies beneath here. Why don't we take a break now, Dave, and we'll come back and finish up this conversation. It's finally here, Dave. The Dudes on Movies merch store is live.
Holy God, everybody. We now have apparel and other swag with our names and logo on it.
That's right, dudes. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, mugs, stickers, and that's about it for the moment, but still, it's a lot of what you want.
Yes, and what better way to tell the world about your favorite podcast than to walk around town repping our names? For the shirts, the store even allows you to pick your colors so you can make it in your own style.
Well, how about that? So if you guys want to support us, please head over to dudesonmovies.com/merch. We'd really appreciate it. Hey dudes, we know you like the show, so if you want more of what you like, please head over to our Instagram and Facebook accounts where we post additional stuff about the movies we cover.
That's right, everybody. And even though we've been the most active on Instagram and Facebook, we've also recently started doing a lot more with TikTok and Blue Sky. And our last 20 episodes have also been uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Yes, and along with the episodes on YouTube, we've also done some supplemental videos, and we plan to do a lot more soon. So please go to any of these accounts to hang out with us, and as always, thank you so much for listening. All right, Dave, we're back from the break. We just had some lunch at the mall, went to soccer practice, and now it's time to go back to work.
Yes.
Cy ends up at work. He's got some development fluid he's carrying through like the back room or some crap, and he's gonna dump it into the machine. I guess you have to refill it on a certain day. But he's wearing this weird hazmat suit while he's doing it. So the shot here is very weird compared to the rest of the movie.
Well, and it's good that you brought this up now because I meant to say earlier that when Cy is by himself, the movie's visual style is different. Everything becomes desaturated, and it looks like of a quality that Cy would never tolerate for his customers.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right.
A little grainy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lit very poorly.
Yes. Right.
It's just too bright in certain areas and dim in other areas.
Especially I remember the exteriors. At one time when he leaves work, he's going out the back door of the Save Mart, and the parking lot is lit in this really harsh yellow light that you only see in Jesse Pinkman's Albuquerque.
Exactly.
But for some reason they have this on Cy,
Yeah, that's a great choice. I didn't pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool, man.
Right.
So, yeah, in this scene, it has that washed out visual. It looks like a Breaking Bad montage where they're making meth.
I know. That came to mind right away. I was like, because he's in the hazmat suit, he's got the gas mask on, and then when Bill calls him on the intercom, he turns around as he's dumping the stuff into the vat.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is just Walter White now.
Yeah, he's down in Gus Fring's lab,
yes,
looking up at the camera.
He's in the super lab.
Exactly, dude. And so Bill calls him to the office, and he ends up going in. He's like, oh, hey, what's up, Bill? Sits down. Yeah, Cy, I'm going through the records here, and I'm finding a lot of discrepancies, All the counts going out are right, but, coming in, they're all wrong. So we're missing prints. I don't know where they're going. And he's like, oh, I don't know anything about it. And he's like, well, Cy, something's happening to him. And he's trying to cover for himself, but he does a pretty bad job.
Now, this is the one aspect, I guess, of this movie that, and it happens in almost every movie and TV show that they don't get right about corporate life, is that in reality, if Bill was doing this confrontation with Cy, there'd be someone else present.
HR would be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone from District.
Yep. Exactly. He mentions the guy from District, so why isn't the guy from District there? But it's great to watch him pace the room and do this interrogation, and he knows Cy is guilty.
Yeah, that's why he called him in here.
Of course. And if he only knew the extent to what Cy's been up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to know. I mean, is he doing this with other photos too? Not just the Yorkin family?
So, not that I can see. I don't think he makes extra prints of anybody but the Yorkins.
Okay. So I would think in this instance, Bill should be able to tell. You're only taking extras of the Yorkins.
Right.
I'm calling the police.
I mean, that's part of his, that's the aspect that he didn't factor in when he did his, reconciliation.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
it's all for one customer.
Yeah.
That part he missed.
Right. And because he does say, well, he tries to it's probably Yoshi screwed up the numbers. I keep telling him, you know. It's like, no, these are all under your name, dude.
Yes. And that's really shitty of Cy, by the way. I told you, Bill, he's not very good at math.
Oh, my God.
Come on, dude.
What an a-hole.
Yeah.
So, he ends up firing him. He's like, I got to let you go.
Right.
And, of course, this is Robin Williams' world here.
Yeah.
Cy knows nothing else but developing photos at Save Mart.
And, it's it is Cy's whole world. And I realized then in that moment that, if this happened to me, we like our jobs that we have here. We consider this our jobs, even though what we do during the day is what actually pays the bills.
Yeah.
If I got fired from my job, my day job, I would deal with it like a death.
Yeah.
Even if it's not who I am and I don't identify with it, I work really hard, and I would be as devastated as Cy is in this moment.
Yeah. Work becomes your identity.
It does.
At least a part of it.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, it is part of who you are.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about that. That's just, you do that. Your hobbies are part of your identity.
Yeah.
The people you hang out with. All that stuff makes you you. So, yeah, losing a big part of yourself is going to hurt.
Right.
And it's going to be traumatic.
Yes.
And especially when it's something like this that was out of your control.
I know.
Well, I guess he could have controlled his actions that led up to it, right? But
Right.
getting fired wasn't his plan. He didn't want that to happen.
Right, and there could have been other ways if he could have just paid for the photos, he would have gotten away with it forever.
Just gonna pay for these.
Nina asked for 2, he puts 3. So she pays for 2, then he makes up the difference. He just
Yeah.
Then Bill, Gary Cole would never have known.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because the numbers would have added up.
Yes.
The inventory would match.
Uh-huh.
The till would match.
Yes.
Yeah. Come on, you're smarter than this, Cy.
I know,
aren't you?
Cy,
Come
just
on.
stop stealing. And I mean, a lot of people do salami slicing, because so the Yorkins, they bring in a roll of film, once a month.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting, 25 pictures, and so 25 prints are going missing every month. I mean, that might not get on the radar until, such time.
Mm-hmm.
It took 10 years in this case for anybody
Yeah.
to notice, but that's what the whole point of why people steal little amounts, over time is because in the hopes that it won't get noticed.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like Superman 3.
It is.
Another Office Space reference.
Exactly right. Or in MASH when Radar steals the Jeep, one screw at a time.
Uh-huh.
He just keeps sending parts back to Iowa, and his uncle is reassembling it, on the other side.
And I would say here that the reason Bill was going through these numbers is because of his behavior.
Yeah.
So if he could just keep himself in line too,
Yes.
he probably would have got away with it.
If they hadn't had the incident with Larry, then Bill wouldn't be thinking about it.
Yeah, giving away the free cameras.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Just pay for that too. Okay, you gave Jake the camera, you told him it was free, so you put the $5 in the till.
Exactly, dude.
Yes.
So he's very upset, talking about how he's poured his life into this and stuff, and Bill's just like, I'm sorry, we gotta do it.
Yep.
I'm not going down for you.
Right.
Because if I don't do anything about this, it's my head.
And I hate what Bill says to him at the end of if you do something stupid like fuck up people's pictures, and
I haven't fucked up a customer's prints in 11 years. How
Yes.
dare you treat me like I will destroy everyone's personal memories.
I know. That's out of line, Bill.
Yeah.
And you know that this is everything for Cy, so he would never do such a thing.
But he lets him finish out the week.
That's a weird thing, too.
No,
when
you
you're
let him
terminated,
go.
you're terminated.
Yeah. Sign this paper, never come back into this store.
Yes.
But that's not what happens. Finish the week out.
And I realize now that the reason they have the finish the week out is because it's necessary for what happens in the plot. Because before this sit down where Cy got fired, we missed one scene where Maya Burson came into the store.
Yes.
Maya is played by Erin Daniels. She's a gorgeous redheaded woman who comes up to the photo lab and needs some prints made. And Cy, it looks like he's trying to scam on her a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Trying to put the moves on. But
have
I seen you before?
Yeah.
And it's the classic line that everyone uses. It never works. and she's actually kind of okay with him. She's just putting her lip gloss on and answering his questions. And then he's like, well, I can't have these ready by 6. She's like, okay, well, I'll come back in a couple days. Okay, well, see you then. She's like, see ya. And he feels good after, he's just talking to Maya.
It was a successful interaction.
It was, yes.
Yeah. Not like his normal stuff, I'm sure, where he's bumbling around.
Uh-huh. She gave him a smile, and then she left.
Yeah, dude. So he finishes the week out, so those photos get developed. I think Yoshi probably developed those because he would have noticed things right away.
Right.
I guess, I don't know how you develop photos, people. Do you have to look at everyone and like make it happen, or does the machine do it for you?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
You have to look at every one of them.
So he would have noticed things immediately.
Yes.
So Yoshi had to have done these.
So this was a Yoshi's pack, and Sai goes home and he goes to the mural after he's been fired, and he's using a magnifying glass with his ladder and those searchlights that you mentioned, like worksite construction grade lamps, like 10,000 candle power. And he's going through the photos with his magnifying glass, and he comes across like a softball team thing.
Yeah, for like Yorkin Enterprises' third annual softball game or some shit like that.
And he sees Maya Burson.
Yeah, standing in the back.
Right.
Like, oh, that's her. She works for Will.
Yeah.
That's where I recognize her, from this photo I stole from them. So he thinks something is up. Which is so strange. Like, why would you think something's up?
Well, I guess if you recognized someone from a photograph, and you... Yeah, I don't know what exactly leads him to suspect that that something's going on.
Maybe he doesn't suspect anything, but he just thinks, okay, here's a link to the Yorkin family.
Right.
I'm going to look through her photos.
Yeah,
It's like some kind of strange third-party connection where I have a slight fascination in this woman now.
Right. Yeah, so he's already like kind of, a slight fascination with her. Right. He's already kind of like, he's attracted to Maya, so he's going to look through her stuff. But also, if she's connected to the Yorkins, there might be pictures of the Yorkins in her thing. So, like, maybe now she's his next victim, quote unquote. Like, he's going to start going through her stuff, because if she's like a relation of theirs, then, they're...
Yeah.
Okay, there's going to be Yorkins in those pictures.
This all makes sense. Like, it all pans out for me. Like,
right.
Whatever reason it is, it's something like that.
Yes.
And was it the day before this? It was after he was fired, right?
Yes.
Like, Nina and Jake show up to develop his birthday photos.
Yes.
And he's kind of just not his normal self now.
Right.
They show up, and he's just, like, treating them like a normal customer he doesn't want to talk to.
Yes, he's
like,
being short and curt. And
Yep. So they notice that something's wrong with him. And then... he ends up like developing their photos. It's from the camera Jake had. He had given Jake. It's just a disposable camera for a kid to take pictures of whatever.
Right.
He develops them, and they're just the worst photos, right?
Yes.
Like, there's photos a little kid would take of their stuffed animals, and they're all half blurry and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Pictures of a cup, just random stuff.
Pair of shoes.
Yeah. So he's just sitting there on the floor looking through these photos, and he starts laughing and he starts crying because really, like, his life's over. He got fired from this place.
Right.
And now he can't get their photos anymore.
Yeah.
It's almost as if he lost his family.
Yes, and he's really moved by the innocence of like Jake's camera roll.
Yes, because that's something he can really relate to. We
Yes.
find out later, like, why.
Right.
But, yeah, he likes the childlike nature of these photos.
Yes.
But that's a great scene, I think, when he's sitting on the floor in
Yeah.
the corner weeping over this stuff.
Yeah, sitting on the floor in the corner, like in this very uninviting room. I mean, it's
like, is it the dark room he's in or something? Or
Yeah.
like next to the machine or something?
It could be either the dark room or it's like the waiting area that him and Yoshi do their stuff in. But yeah, but it's like, it's not a place where an adult usually sits in the corner. I mean, he stands out. And he then goes after hours. He uses his key card to like access the store.
Yeah.
He goes in, and this was a dumb move by Bill to like let him still have keys.
Yeah.
And he walks into the lab and gets Maya Burson's photos out. Mm-hmm. And he starts going through them. And he sees what he didn't want to see.
Yeah. There's some photos of she and Jake. Or not Jake,
She and
Will.
Yeah, thank God.
Better not be Jake.
Right.
Yeah, they're a little too close together.
Yeah.
And they're on a beach. So, this isn't good. He keeps flipping through them. Oh, they don't have shirts on. They're in bathing suits or something. Oh, they're kissing.
Yeah.
And this is almost like him getting stabbed in the chest. Like, oh, I can't believe this.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost as if he is Nina finding out about this.
Right.
I love that aspect because he loves this family so much. For him, it's an ultimate betrayal.
Oh yeah, he feels like completely like everything, his whole world is just decimated right now.
Yeah. Imagine, I feel like he almost views Will as a fatherly figure. He's the perfect husband, the perfect dad, and we find out later Cy did not have that.
Right.
And he finds something in Will that he's missing inside of him.
Yeah.
And so when he sees this, it's almost as if he's being betrayed by his own father.
And in the pictures, too, Michael Vartan, the photographs, he looks real smug and satisfied.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he obviously thinks that like his wife will never find out about this.
I know. I'm thinking, like, I don't condone this behavior, but I'm thinking, if you're going to do this, don't leave photographic evidence.
There can't be pictures.
Yeah.
There can't be a paper trail. Like, there can't be credit card receipts of your, like, dinners.
This is ridiculous.
I mean, you have to be careful when, look, everybody, it's dangerous out there. Don't have affairs. Don't do that. But if you're gonna, at least, make sure that you don't get caught.
God. And just don't.
Yes.
Please. If you're going to do that shit, don't be with the other person.
I know.
Come on.
Right.
Please,
Right.
at least have some respect.
Yes.
And then we all hate Will now, too.
Oh, yeah, right
Yeah.
then and there. It's like he is the villain. And we're kind of with Cy in this moment, just obviously because, you don't like to see somebody cheating on their spouse. But
Yeah.
in this case, too, everything you said there about like how he had some kind of like very strange hero and father worship of like this other man because he didn't have it before. And obviously, on top of that, Will is shown to be just a jerk in general.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen him, how he was arguing
Yes.
with Nina before, like saying just really hurtful things.
Right.
It's like,
And the whole thing, I have to work. It's like, well, yeah, you do, but it looks like that's not what you're all. He obviously like went on like a weekend trip with this woman.
yeah, and he probably said, I'm away on business.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
going to a conference.
That's what it is.
Right.
Yep. So Cy gets the idea to put this photo of them making out into Jake's photos.
Man, it's one hell of a maneuver.
It's a good one. I like it. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Bring it down.
Yes, dude. And he, as he's leaving on his last day at work, he says goodbye to Yoshi, tells him he was fired.
Man. And then Yoshi's all like, hey, I just want to say thank you for teaching me all this stuff.
Right.
And it's great how Yoshi is like thankful
Yeah.
for Cy to teach him, which
Right.
is awesome.
It is cool.
Even though he doesn't realize Cy just threw him under a bus to save his own ass.
2 days ago, he was like blaming the theft on Yoshi
Come on.
and saying he was bad at math. It's really shit.
Yeah, dude. So Cy leaves. He's like, Yoshi, I'm not coming back.
Right.
And he's walking through the store, and he goes down like the hunting fishing aisle, and he walks by some glass display and then gets his keys out. He still has his goddamn keys.
Right.
And he gets a big hunting knife and puts it in his coat.
And this part too, like it's so if Yoshi didn't know he was being fired and he was supposed to finish out the week, then the whole point of like finishing out the week, if that's how you have to do it, if that's the way Bill wants to do it, there has to be like a ceremonial thing
Yeah.
in the end. Like, okay, Cy, all right, I need your keys, I need your ID, I need, so and so. Let's make this real official. Instead, Cy just leaves work early, steals a Bowie knife, and is like sitting in the parking lot, probably in a no parking zone because he's like doing surveillance.
Yeah, he's in like the fire lane.
Yes, right. And he's enjoying a cold drink and waiting for Nina to show up to pick up her prints.
Oh, man. And yeah, she does. She runs in, gets the photos, and comes back to the car. Jake's in the passenger seat.
Right.
So just made a quick stop, picked him up. So he trails the car wherever they're going.
Right.
And the whole time, the camera is like on the dash of Cy's car, and we're trailing Nina's car. So we see them in the distance ahead of us. And then we're waiting for the moment. We know it's coming.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden,
Swerving around.
pulls to the side of the road, slams on the brakes, and then Cy's like, oh shit, and he like pulls over behind them. He's like maybe 100 feet away or something.
Yeah.
And then we cut to inside their car, and she's basically hyperventilating,
Right.
looking at the photo, and Jake is just wide-eyed in disbelief,
I-
which
it's
is
just-
how I would react.
I mean, like, yeah, if you saw your dad like cheating on your mom, in a picture, a little kid shouldn't have to think about those things to begin
No.
with. And then to know that it's like, to have it be revealed to you that way too, good Lord.
Yeah. And that's dangerous while driving. That's really
yes,
dangerous.
Like, Cy like is so in the wrong with this stuff. I mean, I know we said it was a great plan because
Yeah,
it was.
right, yeah.
But Jesus, man, he had to know that like Jake would get the photos out like on the ride
While
home.
driving,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. And maybe he was aware that might happen. That's why he was tailing them.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he ends up following them all the way to the house, and he's like spying on them for God knows how long,
Right.
like after dinner time.
Until Will got home for dinner.
Yeah, they're sitting there in their giant dining room, and Nina's serving them salad and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
Jake and Will are sitting there, yum, thanks for dinner, honey. You
Yeah.
know? And Sai's in the car, what the hell is wrong with these people?
You know, and this is the moment too where you realize that like Sai has no experience with human interaction.
Right.
It's not a movie, Sai. She's not going to be sitting there with her arms folded
Right.
when Will walks in and just lay into him.
Some people might. Other people behave differently.
Yes,
Right?
right.
She's just going to keep this close to her chest until the right time.
Right.
You know what? I'm not going to ruin the whole day because of this. Maybe at bedtime I'll say something. Maybe on the weekend is when I reveal it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I'll just live with this for the rest of my life.
That's possible too. Right.
So Side speeds off in a bad mood because he was hoping like the whole thing would blow up.
Right. And to what end, I don't know. Did he
Yeah.
think he's swooping in and is going to become
save
Nina's
the
husband?
day?
Right. I wow.
Like, oh, thanks, Uncle Si. You know,
Yeah.
you made my dad realize who he is. You know,
Yes.
and my mom is much happier now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. So we cut to Robin Williams having a nightmare. He's standing in the middle of Save Mart, but it's completely empty, completely barren. Nothing on the shelves, just this stark white superstore.
Yeah.
And the camera comes up on his face from the end of the aisle. It gets real close to him. And he's screaming and he's covering his eyes. Or he has his eyes closed, right? And he
Yes.
opens them and they're just completely bloodshot. Like, not even bloodshot, like filled with blood.
Blood-filled.
The eyeball itself is filled with blood. Like a dark red liquid. And then he covers his face with his hands and screams. And then blood just starts spraying out between his fingers and like all over the place. It's a very unexpected moment in
Yes.
the movie. Totally gory.
It's it's a really powerful image because I think only like Stanley Kubrick has achieved like that level of whiteness in the background.
Yeah, like in 2001.
Yes. And because he's wearing light colored clothing and his hair is like that it's blonde, but it's blonde that's gone gray. Like
Yeah.
so it's almost like you can't
It's
even
the
see it.
lightest yellow that ever existed.
Exactly, yes. And then his skin tone is also he doesn't look like regular Robin Williams. He's like he must have
Yeah.
just stayed inside for 6 months or
He's
something
pasty
like that.
as no sun at all.
Right, like Jim Gaffigan.
Oh, but yeah, he's beyond the pale for sure.
That's right.
Like this guy. So like seeing the blood with the white, quite an image.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah. It cuts to the next day, and Robin Williams goes into the Save Mart to develop his own photos. And Gary Cole sees him walking in and is like, oh shit, he goes to intercept immediately. Si, what are you doing here? You can't be here. You're not supposed to be here. I'm just here to develop my photos, Bill. Is there a law against that?
I'm just
You
a
know?
customer.
Yeah. And he's like, all right, this one time, Si, and then you're never allowed in here again.
Bill,
Dude, you handled this firing all wrong.
I know, right? Yeah, you've botched this from the beginning, dude. You know, and on top of that, like, okay, yeah, technically, Sai's right. There is no law against him coming in here, but like, okay, let's say I got fired from where we work tomorrow.
Yeah.
and the next day I show up. Hey, listen, I'm here to get some electrical supplies. Like that would never fly.
It would not work.
Right.
I'm sure when you sign like your discharge papers or whatever you
Yeah.
got to do, or they've got some kind of like guideline in the bylaws or something that says if you are terminated in this fashion, you are not allowed on company property.
Yes.
For what, 10 years? Who knows?
Yeah. Right.
Ever. So yeah, he brings over the photos to Yoshi. He develops them. He leaves. And then we cut to Yoshi coming into Bill's office. You need to see these. He brings them in, shows them, and it's about, how many exposures are in a roll?
25 something?
25 something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
25 photos of Bill's daughter.
You know, and gosh,
She's like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old
Right.
girl. Yeah.
And like we saw him take these pictures. We didn't know who the girl was, who the little kid was, but we saw him get out of his car, walk up to like on some suburban street, see a little kid playing outside, like sitting on a blanket playing with dolls, and he just starts like photographing her. And in the like a lot of just you hear like the shutter open up, and it's one shot after another. And when he got these developed at Save Mart, he gave them to Yoshi, and Yoshi's played by this guy Paul Kim, and I found out his last name, Yoshi's last name is Araki.
Oh, really?
And I thought it was because of
Is
Greg
it Greg
Araki.
Araki?
It's
Okay.
not. It's a photographer named Araki.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought
that
I was
makes
like,
sense.
I was like, maybe Remark Harmonic's friends with Greg. I guess not.
Yeah, it's a mysterious skin
Yeah.
tie-in.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Teenage apocalypse stuff.
There's a lot of abuse going on in that movie.
Oh,
that could
yeah,
translate to Psy.
I mean,
you know,
yeah, the similar themes.
he and Joseph Gordon-Levitt grew up together, something like that.
Something like that, right? Yes.
All right, but no, Bill's like, all right, cops immediately.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He does the right. He goes, "Son of motherfucker," and calls Eric LaSalle.
Yeah, get on the case.
Right. So Eric LaSalle and Clark Gregg show up at the Save Mart, and they're like asking questions, and I think Eric LaSalle actually calls Yoshi. When Mr. Araki brought them, I was like, "Mr. Araki." Okay.
Yeah, and Bill's like, hey, I let him go, and he came in to do this. He's threatening me.
Right.
You know? So that's the real, I mean, that's what I would assume. This is a threat.
Yes, of course.
Like,
and,
hey, this is what you get.
right.
Be careful.
And Eric LaSalle had said, like, well, how was he when he got fired? Well, listen, I've had to fire a lot of people, detective. People get upset when they get fired.
Yeah. And, I mean, they take it seriously, right? They're like, all right, we're going to go to his place.
Yeah.
We're going to figure this out, you know,
Right.
because this is definitely not good. So they go to his house. The cops find the wall of family photos. And earlier we had seen Psy at home, like, scratching the photos out and
Yes.
stuff. And when they show the photos now, every photo of Will's face has been scratched out. He's no longer allowed in the family.
I mean, like, who knows? He was up all night doing this.
Yeah, there's thousands of photos.
Right.
And
And he went through every one of them and scratched out Will's face.
even the ones in the frames and
Yeah.
stuff, like he took them out, scratched them, put them back in.
Right.
This is some mad work.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, they're like, oh shit, this family's in trouble.
Right. They send everybody over. They send like cops over to the Yorkins' house, and
Yeah.
Eric LaSalle and Clark Gregg show up there, and like they say, Mrs. Yorkin, where's your boy? Oh, he's at his friend's house. Maybe you should call that lady and
Yeah.
have him come home.
Yeah, bring him home.
Right.
Yeah. In the meantime, like Psy is tailing Maya and Will
Right.
because he knows they're gonna be going somewhere.
And like when they come out of that office building, they come out together. It's like Will and
Work wife stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will and Maya just walk out in front of everybody.
I know, right?
Other people see them together, and
They're
they,
like touching.
yes, they put their arms around each other, and like her parking space is like right out in front of it, and like there's like a sign that says Will Yorkin Design Group or whatever. So like they all see this. They know he's married, and
Yeah.
he's the boss. And I mean, I understand that like sometimes people don't want to like say anything to the boss, but I mean, no one even like kind of like looks back like, oh, what's going on there?
Yeah, no
It's
one questions
No one
this.
questions it.
It's stupid.
Right? They are being so reckless.
Well, I guess the guy at the front desk, he's got to know, right?
I mean,
Because
yeah.
later Nina calls and he's like, I know he's fucking Maya Burson. Just give me the goddamn hotel.
I know exactly. Because he's like trying to make excuses.
He's like
or whatever.
covering for him.
Right. I know he's fucking Maya Burson.
That's my favorite Connie Nielsen moment in the movie. It's so good. She's just yelling at that phone, dude. She's done. It's more than just I know he's doing it. It's I don't care about that right now.
Right.
My family's gonna die.
Yes.
We're in trouble.
And this is also maybe her unintentionally her way of dealing with the affair too is now she has to confront it because it's part of what's going on.
Right, yeah. And it's integral to this part, for
Yes.
real. Like, because they end up going to a hotel room, and Psy tracks them in. He goes in, pretends like he needs a room, that kind of thing. Finds out where they are. He, like, poses as room service.
Yes.
Calls, so he, like, calls room service as a normal customer, and gets like their room number, right? And then cancels.
He calls Will room service pretending to be Will.
Yeah, it's convoluted.
Yes. And he says, and like, I can't remember the order of how he does it, but essentially he ends up like making it so that like he gets their room number from this ruse where he's pretending to be room service. He wants to like repeat their order. So, okay, so that was room 317, right? No, we're in 511. Oh, I'm so terribly sorry. So now he's got the room number. And then he calls room service and claims to be Will and says, we're canceling our order. We're going to go out for lunch. Oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So that way room service won't show up.
Yeah. This all hinges on them having actually ordered room service.
That is, right? I know.
Which, I guess it's a logical leap to make. Hey, these people are here to have a good time.
Right.
Without people knowing. Maybe they'll order some food, some champagne, something.
I guess it still would have worked, though, if, like, he said, so your order, did you want coffee with that? Oh, we didn't make an order. Oh, well,
isn't this room whatever?
Yes.
No, it's room blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could still work.
Yep.
Cy, pretty smart guy.
Right.
So, yeah, he's figured out where they are,
right.
And now he's got his targets. So he gets a room, like, up on the same floor next to him, and he ends up pretending to be room service, knocking on the door, and they wanted him to leave it at the door, and he's like, well, I can't. You got to sign for it. And he stands there and, like, gets ready for when that door opens, he's just going to barge in.
And he puts a sticker over top of the peephole.
Oh, God.
It says glossy.
Oh! Yep, it's a photo relevant sticker.
Yes. And he's got this big knife, and when she opens the door, he then pushes it like really hard.
Yeah.
And it hits her in the forehead and cuts her open. And Will gets up from the bed, and he's got no clothes on. They're both naked. You know, she's got her robe on, but like he walks in, he closes the door behind him, he's got the knife out, and he starts threatening them. And there's something about him using a knife for this that is more effective to me than if he'd had a gun.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's more visceral.
Yes.
It's more immediate, I guess.
Right.
Because, I mean, you can probably ask anyone, if you're going to kill someone, would you rather like stab someone in the guts or fire a bullet at them? It'd probably be a lot more tolerable to fire a gun.
I mean, yeah.
I imagine so.
Like, it doesn't take as much work on your part.
It almost doesn't feel like you're doing anything.
Right.
Right? And maybe that's why people kill people with guns all the time.
Yes. 100%.
So the knife really adds to this scene.
Absolutely, man.
And we've never seen Cy be violent or be as unhinged as this. We know it's coming.
Yeah, or even just like this angry. I mean, he was like, he was really, I guess he had that outburst in Bill's office when he was accused of like, what he would do to the pictures. But even that wasn't this.
Right. And like he yelled at Larry a little, but like
it still wasn't
Larry was kind of arguing with him, like making it happen.
Right.
Like this is Cy. It's coming from inside of him. You know, this is my visceral reaction to what you're doing to your family, Will Yorkin.
Yes.
So yeah, he's there threatening them with this giant knife, and he starts making them get on the bed, and he's being very forceful and very scary about it. He's like, do exactly what I say. Like, Will moves his arm a little bit. He's like, I didn't tell you to move your arm.
Right.
That kind of shit.
At one point, he like tries to comfort Maya because she's like bleeding and crying, and he's like, "I don't you fucking touch her."
Yeah.
And he's making them pose sexually.
Yeah.
And he wants them to smile while they're doing it. And so like you just see like, Michael Vartan and Aaron Daniels like showing teeth.
Yeah, like trying to smile, but they're crying.
But,
like,
right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then when it gets too real, like at one point he tells her, put his thing in your mouth. And so she goes to do it, and he's like, no, and he hits her, and he says, it's just pretend.
Yeah.
And like,
Don't
okay,
do it for real.
What do you want?
Right. It's it's such a confusing message for them.
Right.
So you can really feel how scared these people are.
Yeah.
Because this guy he's extremely scary, and you can't really understand what he wants you to do.
No. And I think Will, in that moment, recognizes who Cy... Okay, this is that guy, Cy. And he knows, like, kind of how awkward that encounter with him was in the store. Mm-hmm. And what's he doing here? Oh, my God, he's got a knife.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very intense.
Right.
the whole movie really just like ramps up in this scene. You know it's coming because they build it up very effectively
Right.
with the tailing and all this stuff, and the police trying to get there in time.
Yes.
Like, I think like once he breaks in like and starts doing this, the cops have arrived at the hotel and
Right.
they're asking questions like, "Have you seen this guy?" And like, "Yeah, he checked in like 30 minutes ago."
Yeah, Eric LaSalle and Clark Gregg are pretty good cops.
Yes,
and
they are.
they're a great cop pairing too. I sort of wish we had more of them, like more further
Yeah.
adventures. Because like I'd probably watch a weekly
2-hour
show.
photo. They could do like a fugitive type sequel, you know, U.S. Marshals, where it has nothing to do with the first one.
I don't care.
Wesley Snipes can be in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we end up cutting to Cy in his room, which I think is like 519 or something, and he's just lying in his bed, and the bed is made, everything's
Yes.
still untouched. He's just laying there in his clothes, staring at the ceiling, and it's like an aerial shot, like we're in the ceiling looking down on him.
Right.
And he's unblinking, just looking at the ceiling.
And his palms are like flat on the bed.
Yeah.
Like, and with his arms just right on his sides, and he doesn't look relaxed. He looks like he's like trying to approximate what a relaxation looks like.
Right. It's almost like when he's just in real life, when he's walking and moving, like we said,
Yes.
he's very stiff. Like he doesn't know how to move
Right.
almost. Like a quote unquote normal person should move.
Right. And I mean, none of us are normal, obviously. We've talked about that many times.
Speak for yourself, Dave.
Excuse me. Yes, of course. Yeah, Scott is normal. But the Cy is pretty far from normal. Cy
Yeah.
needs help.
Yes.
And watching him try to pretend that he's just in a hotel room having a nap, it's as chilling as the thing with the knife.
It is. It really is.
Yes.
Because we know what he had just done.
Right.
And he has no reaction to this. Or this is his reaction, which
Yeah.
is not what we expect it to be at all.
Right.
But then he does notice police lights through the window. Like,
Yep.
oh shit, the cops are here. And he does try to flee.
And I like the reveal, too, of like he sees them through the curtains. Mm-hmm. You just see like the flashing. Oh, we know what that is. So he tries to flee. And he goes like through the bowels of the hotel. And he's going in, he's like trespassing in places he's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
He runs through the kitchen. He like ends up, like the way they find him is, you know, he's going through these emergency exits. And, you know, they can trace that. This is
Yeah.
a big, expensive, like San Francisco hotel, too. This isn't like a Courtyard by Marriott. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, a downtown place.
This is where corporate assholes have their affairs.
That's precisely, yes. And they eventually catch him in the parking garage. The cops corner him. They surround him. And he is on his knees, assuming the position. And he says something like, all I did was take photographs.
Yeah. I just took pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we flash to the Yorkins' house, and Eric LaSalle brings Will home. He comes in the door, and Jake runs to him, and Will seems like genuinely, you know, glad to see him, and is like, you know, very nice with the kid and everything. And he looks up at Nina, and she's looking at him, and there's no dialogue between them because we don't need it.
Yeah.
We know that they're going to have a lot to sort out.
Yeah. I love how this is the end of these characters.
Yes.
We just see them look at each other like, okay.
Right.
Yeah. I'm glad you're not dead, but I'm not happy to see you.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And Maya, like Clark Gregg had gone into the bathroom. Miss Burson, you know, are you in here? And she was in the tub, like kind of just like still reeling from what happened.
Yeah, and I think they kind of like slowly reveal that because during his escape, it takes the whole scene's like a few minutes long of him escaping,
Right.
cutting between him fleeing and the cops searching and stuff, and they find where where Will and Maya are, and they come in, and it's slowly revealed like they're okay.
Yeah.
Like Will was on the bed still, Maya's in the shower. They build it up a lot. Like, okay, is this guy a murderer? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
The first time I ever watched this movie, I was like, I needed to know, like, what's going on.
Right.
And I felt almost cheated. He didn't kill them the first time I saw it.
Okay.
But after watching it again, I'm like, okay, I am happy no one got hurt.
Yeah, I
like
happy
that aspect.
I mean, yeah, I'm happy that no one got hurt, but I'm also happy from a storytelling perspective that like they didn't make him a murderer.
Yeah.
Because that would have been too much. I mean, it would have been like kind of predictable.
Yeah, and really, think it's a little too far for
Yes,
Cy.
I agree.
I don't think he is a murderer.
Not many people are murderers.
Yeah.
Like not many people let it get to that point. I mean, like, maybe he would someday become it would just escalate or whatever, but I mean, like, I feel like him threatening somebody with a knife, I mean, this is the most extreme thing he's ever done in his life.
Yeah, God, and when he's taking their photos, it's like so intrusive, right? Because not only are you holding these people at knife point to do sexual things
Right.
in front of you against their will, you're documenting it.
Yeah.
Like, that makes it even worse.
And when we cut back to the framing device of him being in that interrogation room, which is also just like, stark white, just like his dream was.
Yeah.
He's in there with Eric LaSalle, and he asks Eric LaSalle, are you a married man, detective? And he goes, that's none of your business, Cy. I'll ask the questions. He goes, well, no, sir, it's none of my business, but I can see by that ring on your finger, and I can see by your answer, and also by the way you go about your job and the way you've treated me so far, that you're a good man, and you're a family man, and you appreciate your good fortune, and you'd never do something like what Will Yorkin did.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes on this thing where he talks about how children should never have to be forced to do unspeakable things and be photographed. And
Yeah.
you realize, oh, okay, Cy was abused.
Right. He says to him, like, I know you would never abuse your children.
Right.
Or make them do things that children should never do.
Right.
And he goes on for about a minute about this kind of stuff. And we realize now as an audience, Cy, his father, had made him do the things that he forced Will and Maya to do.
Yeah.
Probably with other kids. Probably with his brothers or sisters.
Right.
And that's just a chilling thought.
And to have it be revealed in this way, and to know that, I mean, Eric LaSalle, like, he's been very businesslike with Cy throughout this whole thing. And this, for the first time, he doesn't have an emotional connection with him, but he stops being a cop for a second.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I think I understand, Cy.
Yeah. Now he
Right.
realizes why this guy did the things he did.
Yes.
And that's how the movie opens. Like, he says, like, what provoked all this?
Right.
And, well, here it is.
Mhm.
This is why.
Yep.
And it's heartbreaking for the audience to hear, because not that we agree with his actions or anything, but we
Right.
understand why he's so broken.
Yes, and what he did to Maya and Will is not, there's no justification for it, but there's a reason why he did it.
Yes.
It can be explained.
It's definitely explained. And then he asks Eric LaSalle, like, hey, can I see my pictures now? And we're thinking, no, you can't see those pictures.
Right.
No, he's not going to show you the photos you took of these naked people at knife point.
Right.
And Eric LaSalle is just like, yeah, here you go. And he hands him the photos. And you're like, really? And he pulls out the photos, and it's not that. I guess he didn't take their picture.
Right.
It was an empty camera.
Right.
What he had done was use the reel of photo to just take normal pictures of stuff in his hotel room. The remote control, the toothbrush holder,
The shower head.
the shower head. Just
Yeah.
like,
Right.
it's the same childish bullshit that Jake had taken photos of.
Yes.
And I think it really mirrors the childhood innocence that we saw with Jake's stuff. Like,
Right.
this is where he's stuck. Like, this is where he has all his neuroses.
Yes.
Like, and maybe his taking these photos has helped a little.
Yeah,
with
because he was never allowed to be a kid. He had to, do these. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
sexually abused at that age, I mean, like, your childhood has been stolen from you.
Yeah, and I just love that little touch of the movie.
And I love too the way he's got the pictures and he's cuffed, and the way he carefully arranges the pictures, like, in columns of 4.
Yeah.
And he's still
One by
handcuffed.
one.
Yes. And
Yeah.
he's just looking at them and studying them closely. And when originally in the first scene of the movie, when they walked into the interrogation room, there's a funny moment for Eric LaSalle. Like, he goes, Cy's like, did you develop my pictures? And Eric LaSalle's like, that's not a courtesy, Mr. Parrish. This is evidence. And, like, he must have looked at the pictures and knew what they were. And when he said this is evidence, I mean, yeah, technically it is, but it's not really evidence of any crime.
Yeah.
It's just this camera was on this guy, and we developed the pictures.
Yeah, I think all it proves is that he was in that other hotel room
Yes.
taking photos.
Right. So letting Cy look at the pictures of the hotel, I mean, like, it's not going to hurt anything, and
Yeah.
they can still use it as evidence. And they probably can make other prints of it too.
Oh, yeah. They just write a 3 instead of a 2.
Yes, that old trick.
That's the old trick, man. But be careful, Eric LaSalle. You might get caught. And then we fade from this to a photo of the Yorkin family, but he's standing there with them.
Yeah.
And, Will Yorkin's got, like, his hand around him, like Uncle Si. He's with the family.
He looks way more relaxed than he was previously, too.
Yeah, because this is, I guess, for everything that had happened, he's grown a little more as a person. Like,
right.
Even though he did these despicable things, maybe he's kind of worked through some of the issues.
Yes.
And now that this photo, it's a little less intrusive of him in the photo.
It is, right.
It still feels a little intrusive because, he's not part of the family.
Right.
But there is some kind of, like, everything's kind of fallen into place here at the end.
How much time do you think he's going to do?
Years.
Yeah.
At least.
I mean, more than, like, less than 20?
5 to 10.
5 to 10, okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the judicial book.
I don't either, but it's just
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to think of, like, what crimes they could actually, like, pin on him. I mean, like...
Well, I think having the knife
yes.
makes it, let's say 20.
Yes, probably. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, it was false imprisonment.
Yeah.
And,
Couple years off for, like, clear photos, though. Like, no blurriness.
it was calibrated
Exposed
on the
properly.
The best mini lab in the state.
No +3 blue shift on these.
There were some stunning photographs.
Yes. And he has that camera that has, like, that telescopic zoom on
Yeah.
it. Like, that's really cool.
Uh-huh. Right.
But no, this guy's doing some hard time.
Oh, yeah, he is going to go away for a while. Right.
I mean, he's already, what is he, like 60 years old in this movie?
Yeah.
50-something at least.
Yeah.
He's going to be
he
in
might-
there until he's elderly.
He might die in prison, yeah.
Yeah, he could die in prison.
Right.
I can't see him really thriving in prison.
Well, no, probably not.
Yeah.
And I would hope that they would, like, put him in some kind of psychiatric
Well, yes,
place,
because he definitely has mental issues. Like,
Yes.
he probably isn't just going into the regular yard.
Right.
But yeah, that's the end of the movie, Dave.
Uh-huh.
Do you have anything else?
Well, on the commentary track, Mark Romanek said that during his research, he talked with people who did this job for a living, and they admitted that they often print extra copies of people's photographs.
I'm sure it happens.
And some of them even, like, collected them over the years in, like, a photo album that they display on their coffee table.
Okay.
And, like, it's weird to watch this too now because, like, our phones are so full of, bullshit. I mean, like...
I could download anyone's photos.
Yes. It's just...
Isn't that crazy?
We have access to them, like, just right now. And, yeah.
That would be an interesting art project to do. Like, make a coffee table photo album from, like, random internet things.
I know.
Like that. Like,
and it would always be interesting, no
That's
matter whose
crazy.
phone it came from. Because, like, if we just exchanged phones and, like, looked through the camera roll, we'd find pictures that, oh my God, I want that picture. You text it to yourself.
that is so creepy, though.
I know.
Like, even just making it an art project,
Yeah.
that is inherently creepy.
Yeah.
Even if you're, like, just a huge art person, your life is doing, like, avant-garde art projects.
Right.
That is still creepy.
It is.
But I guess that's the point of the project.
I mean, and I guess it wouldn't be art and it wouldn't be brave if it weren't
That's
creepy.
the statement it's making,
Yes.
right? Like, look at how easy this is.
Right.
Scary stuff.
And the only other thing was that, like, I once had a nightmare that was just like size.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you in, like, a Walmart? And
I wasn't in the same, like, like Kubrickian
Yeah.
nightmare, but it was like I was running a business in this dream, and my employees cornered me, and they were threatening to walk out unless they got certain benefits. And I guess I was an asshole boss in the dream because I reacted harshly with them, and I said, "How dare you?" And I started ranting and raving, and they all looked terrified. And suddenly, it cuts to me looking at myself in a bathroom mirror, and my eyes had filled with blood, and my hair was like standing on end like Jack Nance. And it was a horrifying image. And anytime I don't have these kinds of nightmares anymore. But when I do, like, it just, what wakes me up is this all over chill, like my blood is turning to ice, and thankfully it doesn't happen as often as anymore. But I know it'll happen again because nightmares are a part of life. And yeah, that was
Holy
the
crap, dude. That's, that's quite a dream.
Yes, dude.
You were denying people rights?
I can't believe it.
That's unlike you.
I know. I was. It just goes against everything I purport to believe in.
That's why it was a nightmare.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I kind of wanted to mention was the score is very interesting in this because a lot of it is like almost like a music box in a
Yes.
way. Especially when it's Robin Williams' like creepy scenes. It's like this kind of soft, very like your grandma's music box. You open it up, the ballerina's spinning, and the little chimes are going. Like it's just like that. It's just a little creepy, you know?
Because it's like if they put this in a child's movie, then in a children's film, it wouldn't be creepy. But because it's like a grown man, it just becomes like that music box ballerina stuff. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it really hits it in the right spot. Like
right.
It nails it home. And
the other part of the music then too is just like the whenever there's like some dread, it's like and I read that like Mark Romanek really wanted Trent Reznor to do the score.
Yeah. And
he was able to get like pieces of music that Trent had composed, but he wasn't able to get him to do the full thing because I guess the studio didn't want him to do it. Which is like they didn't like Trent Reznor as a choice. Like, you don't like Trent Reznor?
Dude, he went on to compose like Oscar-winning scores after this.
The guy is a musical genius.
I heard that he used the music the little bit of music he worked on for this movie. Because they didn't use it, he ended up using it in his next album.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
Yes, that is good. That is very cool.
All right, Dave. So would you recommend the movie?
Yes, 1 hour photo, everybody. Check it out.
Yep, 1 hour photo. Got to check it out.
Yes.
It's about 90 minutes, though, not 1 hour. It's a short, sweet movie, and it doesn't dawdle.
No.
And it's something you got to see.
And there's great acting in it from everybody. I mean, like, the whole cast, top to bottom, is so excellent.
Yeah, even the little kid's good.
Yes.
So, yeah, check it out, everybody. And that wraps things up. So if you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, and most of all, share it. It gets more dudes listening to the dudes, and you can go to dudesonmovies.com and find anything you need right there.
Yes, and we're on Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok. Jesus.
We're back.
Yes. Thank the Lord. Oh, my God. And Instagram. Look for Dudes on Movies, and our email address is dudesonmovies@gmail.com.
That's right, Dave. And we have a question of the week. What is the question of the week?
The question of the week, what are the best movies about alienation and loneliness?
That's a good question. This is a tough one, people. Dig deep and find your answer. Mm-hmm. And stay tuned next week when we discuss 1989's The Burbs, directed by Joe Dante and starring Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher. So until next week, I'm your dude Scott.
I'm your dude Dave.
And we'll see you next time.